It's a drawing show. It's a drawing show.
Welcome to the drawing show. Today we're going to draw ears. Now, ears are one of those things that are not the easiest to draw. And a lot of times when you see somebody draw a portrait, the face, everything looks really nice. And then you take a glance at the ears and you can kind of tell they don't really know how to draw that. So today we're going to draw some ears from some different angles, and we're going to see how we can do this better. So let's get started, shall we? All right, let's draw our first ear from the side view so we can see the full thing. And we're going to start by drawing this slightly angled line. It's a little bit diagonal. So an ear on a head that's straight up and down, it angles back a little bit. So keep that in mind when you're drawing an ear. Next, we'll roughly outline our ear. Now, something very important when you're drawing ears so that they look pretty good and don't get away from you too quickly is try to keep it as simple as possible. Now, what does that mean? I say that a lot, but this is something with drawing that until you kind of understand what that means, keep things simple, drawing's going to be kind of difficult. And the better you get at drawing, it's tough because you watch all these amazing artists on the internet posting their stuff on social media, and they don't keep things simple sometimes. Anyway, sometimes these people, they just go straight for it. They jump right in there, and it looks awesome and amazing. When you're starting out, you don't need to do that. Once you start kind of understanding how to keep things simple, and by that I mean to not get too detailed too quickly, because once you start getting in and making these little tiny lines everywhere, you've lost. Typically, it's hard to come back from that. So keep things simple. Don't get too detailed too quickly. Sorry, I've been drawing away while I'm talking about other amazing artists and getting too detailed too quickly. So we've already kind of started drawing some of those lines on the inside of the ear. Now, that top fold of the ear, this will become a little bit more evident once we get to more of a direct angle, more of a direct view of the face, like head on the face. And then the ear looks a little bit smaller, and you don't get that full view of it. But that top fold, one tip about that is towards the front of it, the closest part of it to the face, the space between the top of the ear and that fold. I probably should have learned what all the names of the parts of the ear are before I started this, but I don't know the names of anything. But But anyway, that fold, there's going to be a little bit more distance towards the front of it, and it gets closer to the edge of the ear the farther back it goes. So it kind of opens up as it's traveling back. So try to keep that in mind. Draw what you see. So if you're using a reference, and I suggest you use a reference when you're drawing ears, especially if you're starting out. If you're if you're learning how to draw an ear, use a reference. And draw as many ears as you can stand. If you feel like you're getting burned out on drawing ears, that's awesome. And then take a break, but draw a lot of ears, and that's going to help you a lot. So now I'm just going to do some quick shading in on this. This is for the ears that I'm drawing today. I'm not going to totally finish them all the way through, but I will do some shading on them just so that we get a rough idea. Now, another thing with drawing ears and making them look decent is your line value. When you're starting these and you're keeping things simple, you're not getting too detailed, part of that is you're keeping a consistent line value. And that means we're not making any lines darker than any other lines. They're all being pretty consistent. We want to keep a good consistency. And that way you can keep an eye on, especially with your reference, what part of the ear is a little bit darker than the rest, and you can start varying your values. Now this next ear that we're drawing is going to be from the angle of the face looking directly at us. So it's more along the side of the ear. Typically when I block in a portrait, this is how I will indicate where the top of the ear lands and where the bottom of the ear lands. And those are roughly going to be the very top part of the ear is going to hit along the line of the brow line, and the bottom along the bottom line of the nose. So just quickly throwing that information on there so you can kind of get an idea of what that is. There's the eyebrow, there's the nose. And so to indicate that, I just throw a line straight out from the side of the head at the top and one at the bottom. And then I'm going to roughly follow the outside edge line of the ear. So it's going to be a little bit wider towards the top. It's going to get a little bit wider in the middle, and then it's going to pretty quickly start coming in. Now, when you're drawing a face, every feature of that face is different from everybody else's. There are obviously there are similarities, but everybody has slightly different features. So with the ears, you've got different shaped lobes. Sometimes they stick out a little bit farther. Sometimes they hug the side of the head a lot more, uh, so that you can almost barely even see them. So it really just depends on what your reference looks like. For this reference, the bottom, that earlobe tucks in. It goes in pretty fast. It doesn't stick out as much. Um, Kind of the whole ear doesn't really stick out too much. Kind of hugs the side of the head a little bit more. So now this is the part I was talking about earlier with that top fold of the ear. When you're drawing it, especially from this angle, you can see a lot more of it, the part that's closer to the face, and as it goes back, it starts getting closer to that edge, that outside edge of the ear. Just like that. And sometimes you can see it go farther down, sometimes it kind of just disappears into the edge of the ear and you can't really see it anymore. And so I'm putting in these details, but what I'm trying to do here is not um, is keep everything pretty big and broad. You'll notice I'm not doing any shading just yet. I kind of want to get in more information onto the ear before I start uh, going down that route, because if there are changes that I need to make, it's a lot easier to make those changes before I start shading stuff. But we will be shading here pretty soon, I believe. Now, I just wanted to take a minute real quick to just thank you, everybody, for watching these videos. Thank you for commenting. I've been getting some really cool comments of people, um, you know, some of you even talking about your lives and how some of this stuff relates to you. I don't know, I feel pretty fortunate. Uh, I've found a part of the internet that seems to be pretty nice and fun, and I'm not opposed to people. Maybe I shouldn't be inviting this, but uh, more uh, negative feedback or criticism. I've been getting that, a little bit of that on Instagram, which is kind of funny. But I don't know. Just take it all in stride, and it is what it is. But I mean, so far here on YouTube, it's been pretty wonderful. Everybody's been really cool. So, thank you. So we're adding some shading here. We're nothing too crazy. We're not getting too crazy. Just keep keep an eye on the areas that are like the darkest areas. That's what I would kind of focus on, is find where the darkest areas are and work to that. So I went pretty dark pretty fast here, but I'm also just kind of trying to get this on here pretty quickly, so we've got an idea of what it is, what it looks like. And here I'm again indicating, showing top part of the ear, where the brow line is, bottom part lining up with the bottom of the nose. Alright, we are off to the next and final ear of this demonstration. This will be another side view, but slightly angled so that it's not quite just straight on to the side. We've got that diagonal line indicating the directionality of the ear. And rather than just, notice how I'm holding my pencil. Kind of holding it like a paintbrush. And, that's not for everybody. Don't feel like you have to do it like that. When I started drawing like that, it was very awkward feeling because I was not used to holding my pencil like that. But the more I practiced with it, the weirder it is to not hold my pencil like that. It's very interesting. A couple things about that is it helps you to use your full arm, and it helps you to, especially when you're blocking things in, like an ear, you're doing bigger lines. And you're not focused on trying to basically trace out the outline of something and get these really tight curves and, get really precise with everything. With blocking in, the broader, the bigger, the better. So you'll notice all of my first lines that I'm drawing with these are, all pretty straight and kind of boxy. That really helps me to get good symmetry, because that is something that is difficult, especially with ears. Your shapes can get kind of wonky, and at least that's been my experience when I've first really started out drawing stuff like this. And so your lines in relation to each other, stuff will get too tight, stuff will get too far away from each other. Your proportions get off, and it's easy to see that pretty quickly when you look at somebody's drawing and you see the ears or whatever that they've made. Proportions really will jump out at you, whether the person knows what they're doing or not. So it is helpful, at least for me, to draw this way, where I'm holding my pencil like this. Forces me to make these lines like the way that I'm doing. But, obviously you can do it however way you want, whatever way works for you. I mean, there is no one hard and fast rule when it comes to drawing. But these are just some helpful tips, things that I've picked up that have really, really helped me a lot, and especially within the last year or two. Now, something that I suggest you do that I didn't do before I started this video is learn the names of all these parts of the ears. There's a name for everything, and I do think it's good to learn those things. I am bad at doing that stuff, but that doesn't mean I can't do it. It doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, so let's do it. Those of you who do know the names of all these things, I'm sure you're yelling at your screens right now, but let's learn it. Why not? I guess I could look it up right now and just tell you. So why could that be important for learning the names of all the parts of the ear? Or the parts of anything? Why is it important to learn the names of anything? Maybe so that people know what you're talking about when you're trying to reference something like a part of the ear. Maybe it's just also nice because people took the time to name these things and we should learn them. And right now I'm looking at these parts of the ear and I'm having trouble with what might be some of these pronunciations, but we're gonna try. Okay, so where my pencil is right now, that's gonna be the helix. Yep, right there, helix. So I think that's that bigger fold that goes all the way around. And then now I'm going into the concha. Oh, and now scapha. And that is the helical crus or crus. Kind of going into the antihelix. And that's along the bottom of the helix into the triangular fossa. And this right there is around the external auditory meatus. And then, yeah, we're still in it. Oh, kind of incisura? Incisura? Intertragal notch. That's cool. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but intertragal notch sounds pretty cool. This is the lobule. Right at the bottom, the ear, the lobey part. I don't know, I don't know if that's even correct. The lobule. I think I've said everything. Oh, there's a part over here where my pencil is right now, but more towards the back, where there's a little bump. If you touch your ear if you grab the edge of your ear where the helix is, just look that up if you don't know where that is, you might have a little bump. I don't really have it. But if you do, it's called the Darwin's tubercle. Tubercle. I don't know. Probably not pronouncing that right. But there you go. Also, that little flappy part in front of the external auditory meatus is called the tragus. And then the part underneath that, where if you follow that down to the intertragal notch, and then back up where it's got that little bump, that's the antitragus. And I don't think I've said it yet, but there is a part too. I'm actually close to it with my pencil right now. Yeah, right there. That is the Simba concha. I don't know. Maybe? Maybe. So those of you who don't know the names of all the parts of the ear. There you go. Now we know them. And now you can tell all your friends about them because I'm sure they will be very interested in that information. And just like I'm sure you are. Thanks for watching, everyone. And remember, draw more ears. Let me know how it goes. Draw as many ears as you possibly can when you're on the bus or sitting around taking your lunch break. Draw a bunch of ears. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day of drawing.